I was asked to contribute to the Thailand Biennial in 2021 on invitation by Yuko Hasegawa-san. I decided to draw elephants because elephant is the animal in Thailand that's very important to Thailand, even though I've never been to Thailand. So I decided to draw them first, and that also brought back memories of drawing elephants in the zoo together with my father. And I just moved next to a zoo in Amsterdam in that year, which is kind of strange. So I could hear the elephants from my house every day. And so I went to visit the elephants and draw them again. And so there was a little seed that was being planted. And then my father passed away at the end of 2022. But already before, I kind of inherited his camera, Olympus Pen F, which is a half-frame format, so very small negatives. And I found also some black and white film, and I took it to the zoo and I photographed the elephants with it. Then I developed the film, and it seemed very underexposed, so I kind of left it for quite a long time. And then around 9 months later, I revisited the images. I said, well, maybe I should try to print them, and I have a very good printer in the Netherlands. So we went into the darkroom and made some analog prints. And then something magical happened because of the small negative and the film. I started noticing the grain again, and I liked its quality of, first of all, of like not all part of the elephant fit in the frame, and then also this sort of kind of tactile and graphite-like nature of the prints, which reminded me a lot of drawing and charcoal, or like this kind of drawn work becomes something else than photography alone. On this project, it's continuing because now I'm actually in the process of making a film that is much more now letting go of the family. Like, what initially started it was very much sprung from memory and a very personal memory, but then now I'm embarking on going more towards elephants and their social relationships and our relationships towards them, and our relationship also towards material like ivory, which is a very omnipresent in many museum collections, also very much in Japan, and to kind of find out the heritage, our cultural heritage in relation to elephants. Originally it started as my intention to make a film that was a sort of a meeting between my youngest daughter and my dad, because I thought, because of my wish for her to also understand her grandfather, like she never knew him in real life because he was already ill when she came at the age where she could fully experience that relationship, changed into a film that's much more, the emphasis is much more on the creativity, or like and people, the necessity to make things and wanting to create things, and how that transcends through generations. So, and that's the beauty, of course, of creative process. So your intention is A, and then comes out Z, and it's something you could not have imagined. So that is my, that was a great, very, sometimes at times very difficult, but very beautiful process.
Gooi ze naar beneden. Die grote stenen in je hand. Goed. Meer stenen losmaken.
Yeah, in this case, was her. It was her on her initiative because whenever we get packages, they come in boxes, and then she will always take the boxes and make something out of it. So in first they were just smaller boxes, you know, from transporting like a little bit weaker boxes too, and she started building the rooms and making a kind of a dollhouse, and those you can also see in the film. And then we got this bigger shipment for some cabinets, which came in these very sturdy boxes. So we made a big room, and then while she was making it, where the rooms were first still very imaginary, she started making it very much similar to our own studio, or to my studio. So that's why the little cat is laying on the little plateau. That is actually, we have that at home. So they laid on it in front of the window. So then it became more of my studio, and then I was inspired in my turn by her. So then we started making our living room. This is the green room. And then simultaneously, my mom had to leave the house that she lived in with my dad for 35 years, which was a lot of work. And also kind of emotional, because by removing his studio, it was like we removed the last part of where he had worked, where you could still feel his presence. And by making the studio in small, it felt like I was just transferring that memory into something palpable, a concrete. And it was easier to let go of the real space. And also, of course, it was fun to make it and to think of like, oh, this could be this. And Ivy was very instrumental in this process, because she has a very free mind, you know, so I am very indebted to her. Yeah, so his medium was watercolor, aquarelle, and his choice of subject was building facades. So the storefronts and the building facades, and he's usually all taken very much frontal, and then he would take many slides, and then he would render those into very meticulously painted watercolors. So that's also why I'm also very happy that we were able to have one of his watercolors here, because as a reference, it's a very important work to, even if you see it in the film and you know it's painting, if you have never seen something like that, it can easily be mistaken in our eyes and day and age as either a print or a photograph. So, but this is a technique that he really perfected throughout his life, and he started with gouache and more dense, and he started working more and more transparent. And one of the things that I also very much in love with watercolor is that it's a sort of a relation between the pigment and the paper, where it's all about transparency also, and using the paper. There's no white in watercolor, like, you know, because the paper is the white. So this sort of interaction, that is something that he was very busy with, and he all the diaries and the fragments of the diaries that you hear in the film, he kept many workbooks. He mostly didn't write about his emotions or, you know, all the personal stuff. He mostly wrote about all kind of thoughts related to his work, which sometimes were very personal, of course, but that also gave me so much insight in how what he was thinking of or what he was busy with. And one of the things that I really liked about the diaries is that, and hence also the title, The Brush in Your Hand, is that when he would write about the paper or pencils or brushes, he wrote about them as if they were characters in his life, as if they were like his allies, you know. It's like not just a tool, but actually something. So in the end he says, you know, this is my secret weapon, you know. And it was, to him, this was, more than just a means to an end, but actually a sort of companion. And which again relates to this idea that you can have, you can relate to objects in a very emotional way, you know, which, it's very idiosyncratic and for everybody different, which I very much love. 5/11/2013. Ik moet wel mijn eigen weg blijven volgen. Maybe what I like to share with the film is not that different from what I always like to share with any of my work, but in this film maybe it's much more clear, of course, towards a certain topic. I think everybody who has family can maybe relate to one way or another on how these relationships evolve and change, or when you lose your parent, how that changes your own existence also, and not necessarily about this sadness of it, but this sort of feeling of intimacy. At the same time, I think it's like the work that visual art or any art can be, of course, can bring things, people, anything, emotions, feelings alive, even temporarily, you know. So that's the great thing of like having a relationship with an artwork, for example, or an experience with an artwork for the time being, that can just envelop you and you can be immersed by it, and you can also have the space for your own interpretation, emotion. So for me, that is maybe my intimate life. It was kind of like part of trying to transcend or convey this kind of feeling of intimacy that you can experience between family members and, friends. I mean, it goes beyond, of course.